Charlotte and welcome back to my channel. So today's video has been probably my most highly requested video for like the last 3 years. So I'm finally getting around and doing it. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys kind of my tips and tricks for getting in a sorority. So this video specifically is going to be about the process itself and explaining the process to you, and also like how to prepare, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, just kind of like tips and tricks. So today's video is going to be extremely long, so I am going to have all of the times listed down below. I also recently started a blog, which I will be linking down below, and I'm going to be doing a post about these tips and tricks and kind of going into a nice little overview of everything I'm discussing in that video. And I have a lot of other sorority videos on my channel, so I will link all of those below as well. So basically go down to the description box because there's a lot there. I decided that I'm going to kick off this video with a very brief story of my rush experience, just so that you guys know where I'm coming from when I'm giving you this advice. Basically, going into college, I really wanted to be in a sorority. I signed up, did the process, it was the whole first week of school, and after the second day, I was unfortunately dropped from all the houses that I really liked, and I decided to drop out of the process. And I did this with every other girl on my floor. We were all dropped from all the houses that we liked together. So we had a good cry about it, we dropped, and we moved on. It was pretty heartbreaking. So I went through the next like 2.5 years of college not Greek life affiliated. I joined a professional fraternity and I really loved it, but after 2.5 years I just felt like I was missing something and I wanted to get the most of my college experience, and joining a sorority was something that I really wanted to do since my freshman year. So as a second semester junior, I decided, hey, let's just give it another shot. And I went for it, and I had an amazing rush experience and got into the sorority of my dreams. So all this advice I'm giving to you guys is someone who went through the process and dropped and then tried again later and had it work out better than I ever could have imagined. So we're gonna start off with how recruitment works. So I'm just going to go into the day by day of just what you are going to be doing. Now remember, every school is slightly different, but the schedule and the day by day I'm about to give you is fairly standard among every school. But make sure you're doing your research and going onto your Panhellenic website and seeing exactly what your school is doing. Before recruitment, basically, you're going to submit some things. You're going to submit a social resume, a headshot, and potentially some letters of rec. And usually if you wait longer, you have to pay more, so do it as early as possible. During rush, it's usually about a 1 to 2 week time period. It depends on your school. USC used to do it all in 1 week, and now they broke it up into 2 weekends, so totally depends on your school. But it usually starts off with a kickoff. Basically, they take all the girls rushing and then divide them up alphabetically by last name into a bunch of rush groups. And if you go to school like USC, there are a lot of girls and a lot of groups. So within your group, you're gonna get an RC or recruitment counselor or Rho, Gamma, whatever they call it at your school. At USC, they call them an RC. You're gonna get this girl who's in a sorority, but you don't know what house she's in. And that's because she can be totally unbiased when she's giving you help throughout the process. And she is there as your like point person. She's gonna make sure you're getting to your houses on time. If you have like anything wrong or happening, she is there for you. If you have any questions and you're like conflicted about houses, she will help you talk it through. So now going into the actual like rushing. So your first day is going to be like a welcome day. It's 1 day, sometimes it's 2 days depending on how many houses your school has. During welcome day or days, you are visiting every single house. You just go into the house, they'll pair you up with a girl, and you just sit there and have small talk. You will talk to anywhere from like 2 to 5 girls. Totally depends on the house. Don't get freaked out depending on how many you talk to. So the next day, this isn't always the second day, this is just at USC. I'm really bad with the names of these, but this is like the philanthropy day. It might also be called involvement day. And basically this is the day where you learn all about their philanthropy. So there are kind of 3 things that happen during this day, and they're all in different orders depending on like the house that you're in, but they're always gonna hit these 3 points. So you're gonna have some more small talk, you're gonna do a little activity for their philanthropy, and you're gonna watch a video. So just as an example, you might walk into a house and they're immediately going to sit you down and do the video. So you'll sit down and it will begin with like, oh, here's our philanthropy, here's some cute children that we like to help. And then it will go into a really cool like YouTube video that I'm sure you've seen before where the girls are like running around with colored smoke and like dancing and screaming and being like, yeah, we love you. It's really fun. It's super high energy. This is probably my favorite day, hands down, just because like seeing the girls interact with each other, they're like dancing around the room and like hugging each other. I would definitely recommend watching both the video, but also like how the girls are interacting. After that, you would go and do a little activity, nothing big. Like at one house we decorated hats for kids, another house we made little like care packages. And then finally, you're gonna do some more small talk. Next day is house tours. And I think this might be sisterhood day or maybe this is involvement day. I can't remember, but it's the house tours. And on this day, you get to go and walk around and get to see the inside of the house. This one's really fun because the houses are usually really cool. And then you come around to the last day. So this is pref day. And at this point, you're only gonna have 2 houses left. And basically each house does like a little ritual, totally different for each house. I don't want to give anything away for this day because it's kind of like special, but it's essentially just a ritual. And you kind of sit there. And that's basically it. Those are like the days that you go through. And then after each day, you are going to go and submit your preferences, and that will be the next section I talk about. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the next section in this, and this is like how submitting your preferences and how getting a bid works. And this is all public knowledge, like I'm not giving away any secrets. Honestly, I haven't even gone through recruitment school, so I couldn't give away secrets if I wanted to. But this is just how the computer works and how the system works. So after each day, you're going to submit your top houses. And I'm just gonna do this all with USC numbers. Obviously it's different for each school because you're gonna have a different number of houses. But for USC, we start with 10 sororities. And then for the next day, you're only gonna go back to 8. So at the end of day 1, you're like, okay, I saw 10. I think these 8 are the ones I wanna go back to. So you're gonna put your list of 8, doesn't matter what order. Then you're gonna put your next 2. That's where the order matters. What's going to happen is all the sororities are gonna go off and they're gonna decide who they wanna invite back. And let's say you get invited back to the 8 you wanted. You're great, that's great. You're going back to those 8. Those 2 you didn't want to go back to, they're gone. You're never ever going to go back to them the entire process. Now, let's say you only got invited back to 7 of the 8 you wanted. They're going to take your number 1 of like the 2 that you were putting out and move that into the schedule. So even though you said you didn't want to go back, it doesn't really matter. So you're going to go back to 8, the 7 that you wanted, plus the first choice of the ones you dropped. Let's say we're continuing this, you got only invited back to 6. Then they're gonna move the 2 that you dropped and you're gonna go to 8. So they're just trying to maximize your options throughout the process. Now, if you get invited back to only like 5 or 4, totally possible too. Don't be discouraged, but it is possible as well. So that's kind of how the process works. The next day, we go from 8 to 5. So once again, you put your top 5, you rank your bottom 3, and they move it over depending on which house invited you back. So I will admit that sororities have a bit more of a say than you do, but just kind of how the process goes. For pref, this is where it's really important, and I know this gets confusing, so if you guys have more questions, feel free to ask me. So on pref, you're gonna have 2 houses left. At the end of pref, you are going to rank those 2. House 1, house 2. If house 1 has you higher up on their list or whatever, you're gonna get a bid from house 1. But if for whatever reason, house 1 has you like lower on their list and they kind of like max out before they hit you, you're gonna get a bid from house 2. Basically, once you hit pref, you are on their bid day list. You are on their bid list, but the question is, where on that list do you fall? So at some point, they're gonna like max out of girls or whatever, and then you like will get your second choice bid instead of your first choice bid. But there is a guarantee. If you have 2 houses left and you rank those 2 houses, you are getting a bid from one of those 2 houses. There's no guarantee which one, but just one of those 2. And they will take your preference into account. If you decide to suicide, as people call it, which I believe the official term is like single preference bid or something. That is when you have 2 houses left and you're like, I don't see myself in the second house. I only see myself in the first house. I'm only going to pref 1 house. You are not guaranteed a bid. You could walk away with nothing. I really would not recommend doing that. Now, let's say, like, this was my case technically. I only had 1 house left on pref. Like, I didn't have 2 houses. It was a computer glitch, whole other story. But I only had 1 house left, so I was worried. I was like, does that mean I'm not guaranteed? And she said, no, because you had 1 house left, you are guaranteed a bid from that house. So I knew what house I was getting into. So I hope that makes sense, that those are like the 3 things that could happen. If you have more questions, feel free to ask me and I will explain it probably better than I did here, although I think I did a good job. Whew. Okay, so that is everything about just like the process, like without any advice from me. That's just like how it works. Now we're going to go into what you should do before you show up for recruitment. So first things first, make sure you're eligible. USC is a rule where you have to have a university GPA before you can rush now. You also need to have a certain GPA, things like that. So make sure you're eligible. Next up, social resume. So this is basically your normal resume, but like more focused on your activities and less focused on your like professional experience, if that makes sense. Like obviously feel free to include professional experience, that's definitely important. They have a ton of templates online. I made mine in Canva. She was really pretty. I recommend. But basically put things that you love and you want to talk about, because they're going to be pairing you with girls who have similar interests with you. So next up, you're going to submit a headshot. Make sure you look like your photo. If we want to talk about things I did wrong my freshman year, I rushed with long blonde hair and submitted a photo with short brown hair. So I think that bit hurt me. Look like your photo. And also submit a high quality photo. Don't do like a selfie. Like submit your like high school photo. Letters of rec. If you can get them, go ahead. I got a couple of them my freshman year and I didn't get any my junior year because I heard they just don't help juniors. It's just irrelevant by the time you're a junior. Oh, also, here is a huge trick that I don't know if this is a trick or a tip, but like I did not know this my freshman year and I really wish I did. Some sororities let you get letters of rec from girls who are currently in that sorority. Like not even at that school. Now, this isn't true with every sorority, and I'm sure if you just do some research, you can find it out online. And some of them have weird rules where like, she must be in the sorority at your school, or she must be in the sorority but not at your school. Things like that. Sometimes they just have to be an alum, but I would look into that because that would have really helped me because I knew a lot of girls in college and not a lot of people out of college. Throwing that out there. And then also, I mean, this is self-explanatory, but like delete any inappropriate photos that you have. Okay, so we are going to talk about small talk now. So this is important. I think small talk is kind of your like make or break. First up, keep your energy up. I am a very extroverted, confident human being, and I can like keep a conversation going with a person. Remind yourself to just smile and keep your energy up and be happy and excited. Make sure you know the answers to like the questions. And when I say the questions, I mean every girl, especially on the first 2 days, is going to ask you the same questions. If you like go on the internet, you will find a list of those questions. Like everyone knows what they are, but like just as some examples, they're gonna ask you like, where are you from? Why did you choose to come to this school? Why do you want to join a sorority? There's so many of them. Just make sure you know. Just like have some answers prepared. Now make sure they get to know you through this process. Like make sure when you're done with the conversation, they got to know something important about you. Now this is extremely important on house tours especially because you're walking around and you're gonna be inclined to go, oh, that's a cute room. Oh, I love the decor there. Wow, like what do you do in this room? Just don't. Just like don't even talk about the house at all. Talk about yourself. Just talk about like, ask them questions, have a normal small talk conversation that you would have had on any other day. So another thing is get out of like the questions, the small talk questions, as soon as possible. These girls have been doing small talk all day for the last like 2 weeks on top of like all of the recruitment prep they were doing. They are so ready to talk about anything else. Be the person who's going to give them a little break from all of this, where are you from? What are you majoring in conversation? And the way you do that is by answering their questions with like another question. So just be prepared. I mean, I did the same thing at every house. They don't know. So for example, like 90% of the houses I would walk into, I'd meet up with a girl and she'd go, "Oh, how's your day?" And I would say something along the lines of, "Oh, it was really good. Actually, I just had a break before this and I was watching Netflix. Have you seen XYZ show?" And then we just started talking about Netflix and it like spitballs from there. Like, don't worry about it. Like, answer with open-ended questions and answers. Like, don't just like give like little one word like, "Oh, we're gonna end the conversation right here." Like, don't put everything on them. Kind of make it a little bit of a two-way street. They'll really appreciate it, and it makes the conversation more interesting and engaging. And then obviously, you know this, don't talk about like partying or boys or like name-dropping people or politics. Now we're gonna talk about clothing, and I feel like people get too invested on like the specifics of what they're wearing. I am not saying that houses are superficial and judging you on your looks. Not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is you should be wearing something that is both memorable and comfortable. And by comfortable, I mean something you're comfortable in. So we're gonna break that down a little bit. For memorable, well, we're getting like really cozy in this conversation. So for memorable, basically, they are talking to so many girls each day that they cannot remember your name. My huge piece of advice is wear something that stands out. Wear something that they will remember you for. I wore, and you can see this in my like outfits video that I've linked down below, I wore my bright yellow denim jacket. It was so bright and different that every house I walked in, like I would get compliments on it, they would remember it, they would notice it, and that way later on, instead of being like, "Oh, do you remember Charlotte?" they're gonna go, "Oh, remember the girl in the bright yellow jacket?" And everyone will be like, "Oh yeah, like that." That's more for like the first couple days. Later on, they're gonna kind of know who you are, and there are a lot less girls rushing. Yeah, and then wear something comfortable, something that you love. Wear something that like you're gonna walk in a room and just feel like ready to like talk about and just like feel good. But what matters is it's your style and it's what you love. We're almost there. We're in the home stretch. Okay, so financials. I've gotten a lot of requests to talk about financials, which I found interesting because it's pretty public information. Like if you just go on the USC website, they have a whole breakdown of financials per house. So I'm gonna talk from the USC point of view. It's expensive. It's really expensive. I think my new member fees are like over $2,000 for the semester. Disclaimer, it depends on every house and it depends if you're living in or not, and new member fees are usually just more expensive. But if you think about it like holistically, you're getting free meals. Like my house particularly is like super laid back and we can come for like breakfast, lunch, dinner, Monday through Friday, and I can bring anybody I want. So I like bring my friends all the time. We just go and get free meals. Friday brunch, super good. If you live in the house, such a good deal. Like if you compare it, it's like maybe $1,000 more and you're getting like housing and a meal plan on top of like your sorority dues. It's super worth it. There are like hidden costs on top of the dues that I wasn't fully anticipating, and I mean like you're gonna be buying a lot of dresses and you're gonna have to buy a lot of outfits, like you have to wear certain things during rush. First invite, the pre-party was $50 per couple. So like there are just like a lot of things like that add up. So keep that in mind. Totally depends on sorority. I think USC is just like a really expensive sorority because we have like these massive houses and fancy chefs and stuff like that. It's just USC being USC. That's it. That's all I got. I would be more than happy to answer any questions you have in the comments, or if you want to just DM me on Instagram. I always respond to my Instagram DMs, and I've answered lots of questions for girls before, so feel free to reach out to me there. If you even have questions just about USC or just college in general, I'm always happy to help. I'm here. I have nothing else to do. It's quarantine. So yeah, that's it. Best of luck. I hope that rush actually happens in the fall. And I hope you guys all do exceedingly well. And that is it. I will see all of you guys next time for my next video. Bye!